WOMA is a membership organization, and basically is for the manufacturers in this country, with more than 1,500 members registered with it. And as UMA, our core mandate is to advocate for a conducive working environment for the manufacturers in this country. As manufacturers in this country, there are areas of competence that we have, and we would have wished not to import all that we can manufacture in this country. The only limitation that we could be having is in some areas we may not be having the raw materials within the country. But for the items that we have the raw materials, we would have wished to see all those ones, those products produced within Uganda. Yeah, and that's why and when we shall be able to talk about buy Uganda, build Uganda. There are a number of things that we need to look at, and I think that's what causes even the mindset amongst our peoples who would be the consumers. One thing is quality, which quality we are trying to work hand in hand with Uganda National Bureau of Standards to make sure that the kind of products, the kind of goods that our members put on the market are of standard, and not only standard for Uganda, but a standard for even regional, Africa, and global market. You see, the whole world is becoming just a global village. So whenever you are producing, look at a wider market. So we are making sure that that is one of the issues, to make sure that our members have the right quality, to make sure that our people can access the raw materials that they require. I'll give you another example. Uganda has one of the best iron ore. So when you come to producing steel and steel products, I think all we need is to get capitalized such that we are able to mine this iron ore and also be very competitive in producing it within this country. To that effect, we need to see how best we can smelt this iron ore. Of course, working with our neighbors, because there are certain ingredients that we may not be having, like a coal, but working with our neighbors, we should be able to get this, and we should be able to supply as a market the whole of East Africa, Africa, and otherwise with the steel that comes from Uganda. Like I've told you, our core mandate as a Manufacturers Association, we need to make sure that the manufacturers are working in a conducive working environment, more especially after the COVID pandemic, which really affected, it really impacted on the manufacturers and the small ones at that to a very great extent. No sooner our members were trying to settle in, again there was the Ukraine-Russian war, which has also really affected our members. How we are trying to assist them is to continue with the advocacy, to make sure that at least they have some conducive working environment, and also government to make sure that they give some considerations in some aspects where members, and especially because you find that a good number of these members would like to be capitalized. so many of them were affected. We are still lobbying government and of course to see how UDB can be able to assist these members of ours. Well, the challenges as manufacturers, like I've said, we are yet to be there about electricity, which we are still advocating for, such that it becomes competitive. There are things like road infrastructure, especially in industrial areas. A good number of the industrial areas are having very poor industrial roads within their areas. There are areas of expensive transport from, you see, Uganda is landlocked, but lucky that we are land-linked. We need the railway from Mombasa to bring in goods for members because railway is much cheaper than road, which we are using currently. Yeah, and then of course, an easy way of accessing raw materials. We would need the government to come in, especially, you see, we are an agro-processing country, and a good number of our industries are agro-processing. We need the government also to help out on our farmers such that they can produce the raw materials that our people can use in order to develop that value chain, right from the gardens up to industry and up to the last consumer. Our projection, because through our matrix and through gathering ideas from our members, we've already made our matrix, which we've submitted to government, Ministry of Finance, to look through, and we are hoping for the best. We are quite optimistic because given experience, government has always given us a good percentage of the priorities such that we can see how we can develop industry in this country.
As it is a culture on the Money and Market show, at this time of the year, we sit down and look at what has worked and what hasn't worked.
We know for sure that some sectors have continued to flourish amidst all these changes, but others have continued to struggle. Take a look.
It's been a fairly tough run this year for those in business, but even with this reality, there are some that have seen and indeed seized great opportunities within the year. Call them winners.
One of the sectors that is really has actually been able to grow tremendously, but also be able to support this economy, one is the ICT sector. As you all know that after COVID, we've moved from being analog into being sensitive to ICT. And most of our businesses are looking at how they can transact online.
For Uganda, the agriculture sector is another one that some observers say has delivered progress to those sitting in it, especially as food prices rise.
As you all know, people every day have to have something to eat, especially the foods and beverages sector. So we've had a lot of innovations, we've had a lot of production in the food sector, and these have supported our economy to grow. One, people have what to eat that is on the quality level, and people also have what to sell. So they are supporting the value chain of agribusiness from the farmers to the manufacturers into the market. So this sector is tremendously growing, and people have actually also known that there is a need to integrate this into the import substitution, which is key that government is talking about. Our members can now produce quality products that can be consumed onto the market.
Among the sectors that have taken a hit is construction, which for years was one of Uganda's fastest growing sectors.
The construction industry, frankly, has flattened out, largely because of, obviously, the COVID epidemic. Before the COVID epidemic, it was really booming, especially 2-3 years ago. But now it's really gone down because of that and the prices of steel being very, very high right now. But we are optimistic that starting next year, mid next year, that the industry will pick up once again.
The finance sector has not been spared this time around. And while its numbers seem fine, partly supported by, among others, investment in government securities, there's been relatively low demand for financial products from the private sector.
People are really not borrowing so much of late, and they are not certain of the economy. So, and we look at the products that are coming onto the market for our SMEs and are not friendly, or they are not really matching the need of the SMEs, and the conditions are not favorable. So the financial sector is still not aligned because it's not really delivering on the need of these young businesses that are growing.
Going forward, these are some of the low-hanging fruits, according to experts.
We have some sectors that are still limping, and as an association, we've also played a big role to make sure that we keep them surviving, but also improve on the performance of these sectors. One of them is the carpentry sector. Importantly, when you look at the carpentry sector before history, we used to see this as a formidable sector that is part of the construction sector. But unfortunately, due to a lot of importation of the carpentry products, due to lack of innovativeness from our carpenters, but also when you look at the skills and the machinery, the technology that is available sometimes does not support this sector.